start with you, David, and then Catherine, if you could share your thoughts as well. A question here from an attendee: how are background or indoor air issues resolved in the context of a toxic tort suit? Thoughts on that, David?
Yeah, sure. It certainly complicates the analyses. I think that most state agencies and even EPA recognize and have published studies and data on background issues. I think that for petroleum compounds, that include benzene and naphthalene, it gets a little more complicated because there's so many more potential sources for those types of chemicals. When you get into the chlorinated solvents, it's fairly easy to identify potential background sources and remove them during testing. However, you just have to be very diligent on that. And there are some tools, some real-time measurement devices that allow you to go into a structure and identify whether there may be a background source, and in an ideal situation, remove that source before you collect your samples. You can also pair your samples, meaning you can collect a sample from the subslab and the indoor air at the same time, and sometimes those ratios are important to use as they indicate or can indicate whether or not there could be a background issue in that structure.
Excellent. Catherine, thoughts from you briefly before we close?
Another area of toxic torts in which indoor air issues arise is in asbestos cases. Asbestos illnesses have a long latency period, maybe 20 years. So you're going back to look at, in these worker exposure cases, what the worker may have been exposed to decades ago in the workplace. In some instances, there's air monitoring data, or at least air monitoring data that's comparable to the situation in which the plaintiff worked, and then information about exactly what the plaintiff did, where they did it, and how often. So the frequency, regularity, and proximity are used to evaluate dose information for the plaintiff to help resolve those indoor air issues related to asbestos, more specifically.